Colorado College is a school that prides itself on promoting diversity and equity. In 2020, the college implemented the Anti-Racism Commitment, dedicating itself to actively reducing racial inequality in the college environment. The college touted itself as the first institution to spearhead a plan of this nature. Additionally, the college promotes centers and programs aimed at students of color, students are first generation, and other historically underrepresented groups. To increase financial diversity, Colorado College implemented the Colorado Pledge in 2020, promising to bring the cost of attendance in line with state flagships. Despite all of this programming, finances remain undiscussed. While the college talks about racial inequality with ease, many realities of students' financial situations remain secret. In 2017, the New York Times published statistics highlighting the financial inequality that exists at Colorado College. They found that 24% of students belong to the top 1%, constituted by a family income of over $630,000, ranking as the school with the second highest proportion of students in the 1%. Additionally, the college has the highest median family income of all U.S. institutions at $277,000. Financial aid has risen steadily, with the cost of attendance painting a picture of stagnating inequality. But data from mutual aid and the New York Times tells a different story. Mutual aid saw an average unmet need of $91,000 every block from 2021 to 2022. And questions remain about how equal Colorado College really is. We undertook this documentary to explore this vital question. What does financial inequality look like at Colorado College, and what are campus stakeholders doing about it? In order to examine these questions, we talked to the Dean of Admissions and the Director of Global Field Studies.
I find CC wonderfully scrappy, is how I would describe it, right? Like, with a smaller endowment than many institutions of our caliber and excellence, we get a lot done. We give out a lot of financial aid, we have a lot of resources, we have a lot of opportunities, but I'd like to see us put a little bit more money into that. Colorado Pledge probably is a program that would be best described as serving many masters or having many goals. One of them certainly was to get more students from Colorado. Right, just to make sure that we were serving students well in our backyard and recognizing that the kind of education you would get at Boulder would be very different than the education you get at CC, but that financially there should not be barriers. And the other reality is, even if we had more spaces for Colorado students, in theory, we did not have more spaces in the first year class, right? So we had more applicants from Colorado, which meant we had to turn down more applicants from Colorado because we were still looking for sort of the same size first year class. So I think we're doing a bit of a balancing act geographically, right? It's a system problem. So, we are part of an ecosystem. In my mind, we are part of an ecosystem where we can try to have an impact. I think of our work as having a local impact. We could have more financial aid. The benefit to the CC community would be vast, right? I can't fix all of the inequities in higher education, but we can try in the admission office, not just me, but we can try in the admission office to try to create a system that's moving more toward equity and less away from disparities.
As Karen admits, we're still getting there when it comes to a fully equitable process. As a small institution driven by tuition revenue, the question becomes, how scrappy can CC be? Administrators are often balancing the needs of the institution and the desire to create an equitable experience. One of the most important aspects of coming to CC is understanding the resources available. The financial aid process is complicated for even those who understand it, but understanding the promise that CC has made surrounding needing aid is a vital part to creating an equal experience. Another pathway for that aid is through the study abroad experience. We had a conversation with Alan Birch from the Global Field Study Office to investigate the equity in this process.
It's a constant process. My predecessor was working on it in trying to develop how we do aid. She changed the way we handle semesters, which was, I think, a really good shift. It allows pretty much any CC student to do a semester abroad for the cost of being at CC. And so the first thing I didn't like when I got here was the fact that we had a program application and then a totally separate aid application with different timing. And I'm like, the less engaged you are and the less you understand how college works, the less likely you are to get this right. And the aid process was first come, first serve. So on the day it opened at 7 a.m., you had a crazy dash to get it done. And again, it benefited certain students more than others. And students who needed more time to talk to their families, more time to talk to their advisors, more time to just figure out, yes, I really want to do this, had less of a chance of getting aid. So one of the first things I did, so let's get rid of that. Let's create like an application window. Everyone who applies during that 2-month window, just apply to the program. That's all you have to do. We'll do the work of determining who's eligible for aid, who's not eligible for aid. And then let's change the criteria from first come, first serve to looking at academic year, because seniors don't have another chance to go abroad, so they really should try to get it in. Looking at need levels, so that the students who have the most need get some priority. And because we don't have a lot of students kind of in the middle, right? It's a relatively small group in the middle. And then let's prioritize students who are, this is a relatively recent change, students who are already approved for the program. They're not waiting to see if they can go on the program, they're already in the program. Let's give them aid first, and then if someone moves in from the wait list, then okay, we'll be able to get them aid. Can we change the way we do aid so that it's not a competition, so that every student gets aid for something? Let's say it's one block, right? Could be a summer block, could be a year block, but everyone gets it. It's guaranteed the minute you get your aid award as a new student. It says you're getting this kind of aid award and you are eligible for one block of aid for study abroad. You get to pick when to use it. And that's the big change I'd love to see us do. Right now, you compete. And if you're a first-year student, your odds are not great. But if the best program for you happened to be the summer after your first year, like the perfect program, that's not a great system. So my hope is we can look at the financial impact of doing this, and the college will look at it and say, yeah, that's worth that financial impact. To basically say, you get a grant, you get a grant, you get a grant. Choose wisely. You only have one, but it's yours whenever you need it. You know you have it before you even pick a program. But the hope is that it takes away that issue of I've applied 3 times, I've been rejected 3 times, I have to wait till I'm a senior before I'll ever get an aid award, and puts it more on the student, gives you as students agency to say, this is what matters to me, I'm going to do this program. If it's not going to be a huge financial, like, oh, we need an extra $1 million to make this work, I think the argument why we should move in this direction is one that everyone can agree to, which is that it increases equity and it increases your ability as students to make decisions about what matters to you. One of our big pushes, we're actually going to have a department meeting about it right after the school year ends, is how we communicate to students and doing more face-to-face. But one of the things that I think works really well is reaching out to students in smaller groups, whether that's going to first-year student events, sophomore jump events, student organizations, talking to specific student groups as much as possible, and trying to talk about not just the nuts and bolts of how do you apply, what does it look like, but like why. I honestly, based on the numbers from the report, we have a lot of students who I think don't necessarily know that they can do the semesters and not have additional costs, right? That if they receive aid, they're still going to receive that aid and they actually get to take it with them. So I'd like to get more word out next year about what does it mean to do a non-CC or a partner semester program, because I do think I'd love to see that increase. And I think there are non-financial reasons why certain groups of students don't or do join those kinds of programs more or less. With the blocks, I think there's still confusion about a lot of things because there's so many topics you guys have to keep in your heads all the time. I still get a lot of questions from students who don't understand how the wild card works or what it is.
Yeah.
As we can see from this interview, there has been a shift towards a more equitable financial aid process for study abroad at CC. Shifting from a first-come, first-served process to an application period process allows students to actually receive the aid they need to take advantage of study abroad. Spreading awareness about the aid money available is an important part in creating equity in the study abroad process at CC, a process that is vital to many college students and the college experience. Alan also laid out other opportunities for growth in the form of a one-time unconditional aid package for all students on financial aid to use specifically for study abroad. During Alan's interview, we also heard of an unexpected population at CC that is slightly underrepresented for study abroad. CC students on financial aid are going abroad disproportionately more than their population size, while full-pay students are slightly less likely to take part in study abroad programs.
In sum, obscuring finances at CC hurts our community. Without being able to talk transparently about what resources they need, students are left in the dark to navigate accessing those resources. That's why a documentary like this matters. Finances at CC are nebulous and often shocking when discovered. Both Karen and Alan admit that there is always room for improvement. Part of this improvement is understanding the availability of assistance when needed, whether that's when making the decision to come to CC or what students do while they're at CC. Inequality manifests in many ways, and institutional structures need to work towards reducing those inequalities. When the New York Times published that article, we learned a lot more about our peers than ever before. What we do with that information remains up to us.